Section 1181 of the Constitution. In addition to the earlier hearings, 4 further rounds of physical public hearings were held. The committee also invited written submissions and undertook media and radio and held a virtual, sorry, I just lost my train of thought, and held a virtual briefing with the KZN House of Traditional and KwaZulu leaders. In total, 7 public hearings on the bill were held in the province. On 9 May 2025, the committee considered all public inputs and adopted the second negotiating mandate in support of the bill. Subject to certain proposed amendments, the bill repeals and replaces the Local Government Municipal Demarcations Act 1998 to align the law with current demarcation practices. Key features include stronger public participation in demarcation processes, a 10-year boundary determination cycle, the establishment of a demarcation appeals authority to hear appeals, and the renaming of the Municipal Demarcation Board as the Independent Municipal Demarcation Authority. On 14 October 2025, the NCOP Select Committee adopted a C list of amendments and later confirmed that the D version of the bill correctly reflects those amendments. Among the amendments proposed from KZN, the committee recommended that the publication of the names of board and committee members must also include their qualifications to promote transparency. This recommendation was supported by the department and is now reflected in the D version. 2 further proposed amendments from the province were not accepted at bill level. One sought a fixed time limit within which the minister could use any list of additional names for board appointments before re-advertising. The other called for a more comprehensive appointment process for the Demarcation Appeals Authority, similar to that of the board. The department advised that the bill already empowers the minister to restart the appointment process when necessary, and indicated that the appointment process for the Appeals Authority will be addressed in the regulations. Honorable Speaker, on 30th October 2025, the committee met to consider the D version of the bill, the Select Committee's decisions, and to adopt a final mandate. 10 members were present, 3 members voted in favor of recommending that KZN support the bill, 7 members abstained, and 1 member was absent. In terms of Standing Rule 15.1511, which provides that questions before a committee are decided by a majority of votes cast, the 3 votes in favor constitute the decision of the committee. Honorable Speaker, in light of the above, the Cocto Portfolio Committee recommends that this legislature adopts this final mandate report and authorizes the KZN provincial delegation to the NCOP to cast a vote in favor of the D version of the independent municipal as the province's final mandate. This is the report of the Cocto Portfolio Committee on the final mandate of the Independent Municipal Demarcation Authority Bill B14D 2022, which I submit to the House for adoption. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. We'll now call the first member for 6 minutes on behalf of MK to come and debate, Honorable Manchero Bashiela.
Greetings, Chair. Greetings, the members of the House and the members of COCTA and officials. May I ask permission to put off my camera? Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the MK Party rises to firmly reject this bill in its current form. When we speak about areas of governance, let us begin by shattering the lie that white people found no man's land. No, there were people here with their own boundaries, demarcating their areas of authority. Since then, traditional leadership over the land of kings, queens, and amakosi are ignored. The consultation with the House of Traditional Leadership is noted, but we view it as mere lip service. While this bill is presented as a measure to enhance independence and fairness in municipal demarcations, this bill does the opposite. It centralizes power, undermines local voices, and further distances decision-making from the people most affected by the boundary changes. Let us be clear, until Amakosi are integrated into the municipal decision-making platform, this bill is just another farce. This bill overlooks intricate leadership relationships between traditional authorities and their communities. The demarcation of areas of governance must have Amakosi being at the center of this process. After all, they collectively represent the majority of South Africans. The bill places excessive power in the hands of the President and the Minister of COGTA, who appoint both the Board of Authority and the Appeals Authority. This makes a mockery of the word independent. True independence cannot exist where the executive controls appointments and removals. It risks turning the authorities into another political tool used to redraw boundaries for partisan advantage. Adjudicating disputes should not be in the hands of an appeals board. By allowing an administrative body to adjudicate disputes in place of the courts, the rule of law and the principle of legality may be undermined. An appeals board has members appointed by the president, clearly creating the basis for political interference. Again, the way the appeals board members are appointed makes a mockery of the word independent and flies in the face of separation of powers. The president appointing board members undermines independence and impartiality of the demarcation process. Secondly, the bill fails to give meaningful effect to public participation. It allows for consultation, yes, but consultation without real power is window dressing. Communities must not only be heard, their input must carry binding weight, especially when boundaries affect their livelihoods, their access to services, and their traditional identities. Even the report on public comments disclose the hopelessness people feel when a fleeting presentation of the bill occurred during the public participation process. Thirdly, the bill ignores the role of traditional leadership. Secondly, traditional leadership, section after section, reduces Amakosi to mere consultees rather than co-decision making, despite their constitutional role in local governments. This continues the pattern of marginalizing indigenous leadership structures and undermines the principle of cooperative governance that includes traditional authority. Amakosi must be treated as rulers and not subjects. Fourthly, the bill introduces vague and open-ended provisions for municipal capacity assessments and appeals. These can be manipulated to justly force amalgamations, break up strong municipalities, or delay local elections, all without transparency or accountability. Honorable Speaker, we as the MK Party believe
Your time is up, Honorable Member. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now move to the second speaker for 6 minutes on behalf of the IFP is Honorable L.J. de Klerk.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and honorable members of this House. Andrew Young made the following statement, and I quote, "There can be no democracy without truth. There can be no truth without controversy. There can be no change without freedom. And without freedom, there can be no progress." This is why the Inkatha Freedom Party has a motto, freedom to choose. Today, we are debating a critical piece of legislation. I sincerely hope that all members of this August House are staunch supporters of democracy. It is what so many people fought for to achieve and some people paid the ultimate price to achieve democracy. Democracy underpins everything in our constitution, the constitution that all members of this House swore to uphold. In South Africa, the closest we come to direct representation is in our electoral process and system is on municipal level, where ward councillors are elected to represent a specific ward and constituency and then has to report directly back to these people that elected them, and they are taken from a list. It is the bedrock of our democracy. The Municipal Independent Demarcation Authority Bill speaks to the setting of the outer municipal boundaries and also inner ward boundaries. It is of paramount importance that the Demarcation Board is independent and has the capacity and human capital to achieve impartial and fair decision-making. This bill is trying to achieve exactly that by setting out stringent qualifications for a member of this board. If this process is in any way manipulated, it will have a specific, to benefit a specific political party, it will spell disaster to our democracy. It is a fact that in many countries in the world, gerrymandering is a reality, and it is a big problem. This practice skews the outcome of elections and causes the democracy to suffer. The bill also gives an effect to a wider and a better public participation process. It is also including traditional leaders in this process, and thus should be commended. And it also includes a wide consultation process. We as legislators are here to represent the people. So it goes without saying that if there is any municipal boundary changes, that there must be proper public participation. Our situation demands such public participation, and during the past few years, our Constitutional Court has set aside several laws on the basis of improper public participation. We can take note of the fact that the KZN Legislature, through the COCTA Committee, had proper public participation to discuss this bill. And this happened in Harigwala District, Amayuba District, and Zululand District during March of this year. Another positive change to this bill will give effect to it is the establishment of an internal appeal process. Currently, if someone is aggrieved by the decision of the Demarcation Board, it has to go to the High Court during these processes to ensure that no gerrymandering takes place.
Honorable C.P. Maldopa.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. This bill is far more than a technical adjustment of ward boundaries. It is about restoring fairness, transparency, and dignity in how
Your
our
face,
community.
Honorable Member. You are not on video. Thank you.
As we consider it today, we do so guided by a central priority of the 7th administration. This bill advances that priority in a direct and a practical way, strengthens government and the sphere closest to the people, and gives effect to our 55th National Conference resolution to stabilize local government and arbitrary boundary changes, deepen public participation, and rebuild trust between government and the communities we serve. It is also aligns with the NDP. Honorable Speaker, the experience of communities under previous demarcation cycles remain a painful reminder of what happens when decisions people are made. Neighbors were divided, traditional communities fragmented, and essential services disrupted. This bill closes that chapter. and ushers in a new era of fair, consultative, and people-centered demarcation, grounded in respect for the lived realities of our communities. It strengthens public participation, formally recognizes traditional and Khoisan leaders, and introduces an appeals authority so that no community is ever silenced or ignored if they raise issues. Honorable Speaker, during public hearings, community told us clearly that 5 years was too short. Boundaries change before residents even understand them. The 10-year demarcation cycle responds directly to their call for stability, continuity, and reliable service delivery, instead of constant disruptive changes that was happening during the time that it was only 5 years and then reviewed again. Earlier this year, in the ANC local government, corruption and interference have eroded public trust. The ANC is not denial, hence our unwavering focus on renewal, accountability, and ethical leadership. The bill is part of that renewal journey. It removes demarcation from political interference and places it under an independent, transparent, community-centered authority. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, the African National Congress supports this bill as a decisive step towards ethical, effective, and people-centered local government that unites community rather than divide them. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The next speaker for 4 minutes on behalf of the DA is Honorable TJ Brotesat.
Honourable members, we meet today to debate the Independent Municipal Demarcation Authority Bill, legislation that, while well-intentioned in many aspects, raises serious concerns that we as lawmakers cannot ignore. Let me begin by acknowledging the positives. The bill introduces long overdue reforms to the demarcation process. It renames the Municipal Demarcation Board to the Independent Demarcation Authority, reinforcing the need for institutional independence. It establishes a Demarcation Appeals Authority, offering a structured route for redress short of court. It also codifies public participation, requiring notice, meetings, and reasoned decisions, steps that bring transparency and accountability to the process. In KwaZulu-Natal, the COGT Committee undertook an extensive public participation process. This is testament to the Chair, Honourable Meyer. Hearings were held across the province and the public responded with thoughtful input. Many of the issues raised, such as the need to avoid splitting communities and to respect natural boundaries, are addressed in the bill. This is commendable. However, honourable members, we must not allow the positives to blind us to the risks embedded in this legislation. The most troubling provision is the allowance for award variances of up to 30% for the municipal average. While the bill maintains the 15% norm, it permits deviations to 30% in so-called exceptional cases. This is a significant departure from the principle of electoral parity. In a democracy, each vote should roughly carry the same equal weight. Allowing such a wide variance risks undermining that principle. Let us be clear. A 30% deviation means that in one ward, a councillor could represent 10,500 voters, while in another, a councillor represents 19,500. That is nearly double the representation for one community over another. Even with safeguards, gazetted reasons, public objections, and appeals, this opens the door to manipulation, particularly in politically competitive areas. We must ask, why is such a broad deviation necessary? The bill cites reasons such as keeping communities intact or aligning voting districts. These are valid concerns, but they do not justify such a wide margin. A more reasonable cap, perhaps 20%, could achieve the same goals without compromising electoral fairness. Furthermore, the bill does not include hard statutory cut-off dates for demarcation ahead of elections. While that aligns with IC's timetable, absence of firm deadlines in law leaves room for last-minute changes that could disrupt electoral planning and public confidence. The appointment process of the appeals authority also lacks the transparency and rigor we have called for. And while the DA expands the while the bill expands the IMDA's responsibilities, it does not provide a clear funding model to support these new functions. Without adequate resources, even the best designed institutions will fail. In conclusion, Honourable Speaker, while the bill contains important reforms, it also carries risks that could undermine the very fairness it seeks to promote. This leaves us with legislation that opens the door to unequal representation. All of these factors these are all factors that this legislature must consider very, very carefully before moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next member for 2 minutes is Honourable Tinkosi of the EFF. Honourable Tinkosi is not in the House, honourable members. We will now move to the next member for another 2 minutes, Honourable CM Shinga of the NFP.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable members, this bill does more than to amend the old law. It redefines how we govern space, identity, and local service delivery. For far too long, demarcation decisions have been perceived in distant processes made without proper consultation of the people directly affected, particularly rural and traditional communities. The NFP welcomes that this bill now gives voice to the institution of traditional leadership and other local stakeholders, ensuring that decisions respect both governance and cultural realities. Equally important, the NFP welcomes the bill's alignment with the SPLUMA, which ensures municipal boundaries are informed by development priorities and service delivery, not political convenience. We must move away from boundaries that divide communities and instead create functional municipalities that uplift livelihoods. Honourable Speaker, the NFP believes that the implementation of this bill must prioritize gender equity and youth inclusion in the composition of both the demarcation and appeals authorities. Women in rural areas, often the backbone of local economies, must not only be consulted but must serve in decision-making roles. Lastly, the bill brings hope to communities that have long felt voiceless in how their municipalities are drawn. It ensures that governance reflects identity, geography, and history. The NFP supports this bill because it strengthens the foundation of democracy, governance by the people, with the people, for the people. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We're now going to call for 6 minutes on behalf of the MK, Honourable Bisim Ngati. Honourable Ngati.
Honourable Speaker, and Honourable Speaker, greetings to honourable members in the House, members of the Progressive Caucus, Inkosi Yesizwe Sasematungeni, the party leader of Umkhonto Wesizwe Party. Honourable Speaker, the Umkhonto Wesizwe Party's position on this bill is conditional and constructive. Will not play an obstructive for its own sake. Will not oppose the good because of the bad. But we will insist on the following concrete amendments and safeguards. Measures grounded not in partisanship, but in democratic prudence and the lived testimony of our people. As Umkhonto Wesizwe Party, we require the publication of board and committee members' names, together with the full qualifications and declared interests, so that the public can assess competency and independence. This is not bureaucratic vanity. It is public accountability. Number 2 is to strengthen the appeals regime with strict, non-extendable timelines for appeals that effect electoral delimitation and provide an expedited appeals track for decision that interests with the IEC election timetable. No appeals process should be de facto stay that undermines the right to vote free from administrative confusion. Number 3, mandate meaningful provincial and local presence. The authority must establish provincial liaison offices or local mechanisms so that the demarcation processes are truly accessible, not simply notices in distance journals. Our hearings made it clear that communities want physical consultations and workshops, sometimes in isiZulu, that must be enshrined, not optional. Honorable Speaker, the other one is to protect customary jurisdiction, include explicit requirements for the authority to consider Amakosi boundaries and to consult the Provincial House of Traditional Leaders where delimitation may cross traditional authority lines. Recognition of customary structures, it is a constitutional and social reality in KZN and must be respected in practice. The other one is to make municipal capacity assessment binding where they are required to propose measures and ensure social and economic impact assessment are part of the record, not perfunctory exercises that leave communities poorer and worse served. Our people deserve more than paperwork. Finally, Honorable Speaker, a word of posture and politics. We must craft a narrative that is both disciplined and popular. MK is a guardian of community stability, participatory democracy, and transparent institution. We should expose loopholes that allow politicization, but we should also promote the very improvement in the bill that will benefit ordinary people, reduce cost of appeal, better participation, and clearer institutional roles. This mixed posture, rigorous, reformist, and ready to defend communities will be our campus in the voting and the public debate that follows. Honorable Speaker, I close with this. Law must be an instrument of democratic empowerment, not an instrument that, however inadvertently, sows confusion and grievance in a year when communities will be asked to give mandate and to trust our institutions against at the ballot box. We owe them clarity. We owe them fairness. We owe them the ability to hold their representatives to account without procedural or partisan obstructions. For the reason I have stated, rooted in the testimony of our people and considered recommendation of this committee, the MK party will not support the bill only if the amendments I have outlined are accepted and enacted. Failure to do so will not be a mere technical omission. It will be a political choice with material consequences for the voters of KwaZulu-Natal. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Members, that was the last speaker on the debate by parties. I am now going to call back the Honorable Naya, our chairperson for COCTA, to respond to the debate in 5 minutes, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Speaker, permission to switch off my camera?
It is when there is an explanation. Honorable members think that he said switch off the camera and we don't know the explanation. And now Honorable Chair, please. if it's to save bandwidth or if it's what, not just to switch off the camera. But it's your time that we are using, by the way.
Oh, Honorable Speaker, let me proceed then. Thank you to all of the members that debated and made contributions. They are all noted. Honorable Basiela, the consultation with the KZN House of Traditional Leadership, saying that it was simply lip service is really an insult to them. Because when we had the consultation with them, they were in unanimous support of the bill. And so I really think that you should reconsider your views or the statements that you make in regard to the House of Traditional Leadership in the future, because we do not want to insult them. In terms of the appeals board, you spoke about the appeals board. Whatever you've raised, there is provision in terms of the regulations and the code of conduct that will come in the future. In terms of you mentioning that we had fleeting presentations, I think that is also quite unfair because you were there, and I think the staff did an excellent job in terms of presenting. We had additional public participation. This is a second round that KZN undertook, and of course they were in isiZulu as well. I myself, as the chairperson, went on a few Zulu radio stations and with translation unpacked the bill. We had various avenues that we unpacked the bill. Honorable Lawrence, I like that you mentioned that there are adequate guardrails in terms of appeals. You've outlined the regulations and the code of conduct, expressing that there are avenues in which to address issues in the future. And of course, you mentioned that we need to perform proper oversight as well, which is very good. And then we move on to Honorable Madlopa. Honorable Madlopa, you very adequately described the status quo of exactly what the situation is in KZN in terms of demarcations and so on. And of course, this bill will improve the lives of people. Honorable Brataset, you touched on the deviation, which is capped at 30%, and of course raised some very good concerns there. I just want to mention that there are only 3 instances in which the deviation can move beyond 15%. And of course, there are adequate guardrails in terms of the deviation as well, and processes in place so that those that are not happy with these deviations can make appeals. In terms of the budget that you spoke on, of course, this budget comes from National Treasury, and it's something that you do raise some valid points in terms of now with more additional public participation. We don't want this to be an unfunded mandate, and it's something that we will indeed have to monitor. Honorable Shinga, your comments are noted. Indeed, the bill is a huge improvement to the status quo, and it is a voice of the people in KwaZulu-Natal. Honorable Ngadi, whatever you have been speaking about and the issues that you've raised, they will be dealt with through the regulations, code of conduct, and so on. So there is provision for those issues to be dealt with. You mentioned that public participation needs to be held in Zulu. To my knowledge, and you did as well, all of our public participations were held in Zulu wherever we've gone, and where there was need for translation into English or isiZulu, we provided those as well. Thank you so much, Chairperson. Thank you so much, Speaker.
Thank you, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs in the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature. Thank you to all honorable members. We have now come to the end of the debate on the Independent Municipal Demarcation Authority Bill, B14D 2022. The House now needs to vote on the conferral of the final mandate on the Independent Municipal Demarcation Authority Bill. I note, honorable members, we will give the secretary, the table staff, an opportunity to first ring the bill so that members are allowed inside. Let's ring the bill, Nopala. Honorable members, the time has been going down from 3 minutes. I forgot that I'm not in the house and I had to announce that because you will hear when the timer is off, and that's when we will be looking through the IT, of course. Wonderful, thank you. Thank you, honorable members. We're now back. No one will now be allowed inside the house. I note that the recommendation of the Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs to the House is that A, the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature confer a final mandate on the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Delegation to the National Council of Provinces to vote in favor of the Independent Municipal Demarcation Authority Bill B14D 2022 at the relevant NCOP Select Committee, and B, the head of the provincial delegation to the NCOP, a delegated designated by the head of delegation, to cast a vote in favor of the Independent Municipal Demarcation Authority Bill B14D 2022 at the NCOP plenary. The House, however, is also empowered to take its own decision on whether to confer a mandate to support, oppose, or abstain. I accordingly put the question to the House as follows: the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Delegation to the National Council of Provinces to cast a vote in favor of, against, or to abstain from voting on the IMDAB Bill 14D 2022 at the NCOP Select Committee, and the head of the provincial delegation to the NCOP or a delegate designated by the head of delegation to cast a vote in favor, against, or abstain from voting in the Independent Municipal Demarcation Authority Bill. I will now go party by party to obtain the vote and thereafter check if any member wishes to record an individual vote. I will start with the MKP.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Umkhonto wesizwe abstains.
EFF, EFF is not in the house. NFP, Honorable Madlopa, please switch off mute yourself. NFP, we are now calling for the NFP to vote. The NFP is,
Honorable Speaker, the NFP will vote in support of the bill.
the DA,
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Democratic Alliance will vote in support of the bill.
the ANC,
The
Thank you,
ANC
Honorable.
votes in support of the bill.
the IFP,
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The IFP supports the bill.
members, I have the votes of all parties. Is there any member who wishes to express an individual vote that is different from their party vote or to abstain? Is there any member? Seeing that there is none. Who's that now? I will ask the secretary, was that a vote against Honorable Mbata? Was that an individual vote?
No, Chair, it was not.
Don't come when we are asking for individual voters, please, Honorable Member, if you are not one of them. I will ask the secretary for a tally of the votes. You have up to 3 minutes, Madam Secretary, to tally the votes. Lopala, you are ready, you can come.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the total number of members present is 76 and 4 members are absent. The voting results is therefore as follows. Mandate to vote in support of the bill, 40. Mandate to abstain, 35. Mandate against, no. The total therefore is 75, excluding the Speaker. In terms of Section 1122 of the Constitution, the presiding officer does not have a deliberative vote under the circumstances and only has a deciding vote if there is an equality of votes. So the figures are mandate in support 40, mandate to abstain 35. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, no Pala. Honorable members, I will therefore formally declare the result of the vote as follows. Votes to confer a mandate in favor, 40. Votes to confer a mandate against, nil. Votes who had to confer a mandate to abstain, 35. The mandate to vote in favor has it. And then the KwaZulu-Natal delegation to the NCOP will vote in favor of the bill. And that brings us to the end of the item on the order paper concerning the conferral of final mandate on the Independent Municipal Demarcation Authority Bill B14D 2022. Thank you so much, honorable members. Thank you, members, for having come at a short notice, and also especially those in the executive who might have had government programs. We are now at the end of the sitting for today, and the House is adjourned until we meet at the TLTP in Zululand on Friday.